It is understood that there are a lot of Sonic games, not only in terms of the mainline installments, but also in terms of the many spin-offs. It's only natural for a game company to be pushing out as many games as possible for a franchise that has caught the world by storm, which Sonic the Hedgehog certainly did, especially in the 1990s. After releasing 4, although it should be 3, highly successful and beloved Genesis games, as well as several other awesome but not as successful games on the 8-bit consoles and the Sega CD, making another mainline Sonic game was pretty much the obvious thing to do. However, as we will be seeing in today's episode, as well as especially in upcoming episodes down the road, making the follow-up to Sonic 3 and Knuckles proved to be even more complicated than expected. It was the mid-90s, the 16-bit era was ending, and Sega was shifting its attention to the 32-bit era with their 32X and Saturn games. And while Sega Technical Institute, the developers behind Sonic 2 and 3, was busy with their own follow-up to Sonic 3 and Knuckles, a small team within Sega Japan was working on another Sonic game. It was a pretty simple 2D Sonic game that was a Sonic and Knuckles follow-up hopeful, but that wasn't going to pan out exactly as planned. So, today on Beta Quest, we'll be looking at Sonic Crackers and Knuckles Chaotix. Development for a new 2D Sonic game within Sega Japan began sometime in 1994 by a small team of developers, some of whom were from Sonic CD's staff. The developers created a short little compilation of engine tests titled Sonic Crackers, which focused on more physics-oriented gameplay with Sonic and Tails being band together with elastic power rings. The demo featured a small handful of levels that were thrown together with simple coding, featuring a couple of 2D attraction levels as well as some top-down 3D-ish field levels reminiscent of Sonic 3D Blast, both using different engines that will be swapped out with code written into the RAM. The levels presented included 5 technology-themed side-scrolling levels with alternate patterns and versions of the same song, likely meant to represent some type of time-of-day mechanic, a carnival-themed speedy side-scrolling level, a top-down level themed after the carnival level, and a top-down techno level. Special stages are also selectable on the game's menu, although there is nothing really there and selecting the special stages will just result in the game kind of being stuck. Other features present included 2-player support, options that lead to a sound test, and a level select. And that's about it. It's a pretty bare prototype. The name Sonic Crackers is likely based on the Clackers toys, which are those spheres connected to string that you use to slam together and they bounce around. And then you get injured because you're banging hard spheres around at high velocities and stuff. The prototype is very glitchy and buggy, but that was not the point, as the purpose of the prototype was simply to present new concepts and ideas to Sega, which they did, and Sega approved the game for full production as a mainline Sonic game. It was decided at one point that the project would go next generation, as the 16-bit era was ending and Sega wanted to move their focus towards their upcoming SEGA Saturn and 32X releases. The plan was to actually move Sonic Crackers to the SEGA Saturn and release it as a launch title for the system, to highlight how Sonic will look with the fancy 32-bit CD technology. Info on this period of development is unknown, other than it did happen and was worked on for a little while, but it is safe to assume that Sonic Crackers was likely to be expanded upon with advanced sprite work, CD quality music, and perhaps some animated cutscenes to highlight some more advanced FMV technology of the Saturn. Well, compared to the Sega CD, because we know that system's FMV stuff was pretty terrible. However, regardless of what this project was, development was shifted for the worst. According to Sega of America president Tom Kalinske, it was decided that the project would be taken off of the Sega Saturn and moved to the Sega 32X add-on instead. This was for multiple reasons. For one, it was clear that the project was not going to be released in time for the Saturn's Japanese November 1994 release date. On top of that, the project was ballooning out of control, both in terms of scale and budget, and was falling behind schedule. And lastly, the 32X was also in desperate need of games, and Sonic Crackers would be perfect. Granted, the 32X was a bad idea to begin with, but whatever. Because of these reasons, Sonic Crackers was downscaled and made a 32X exclusive, no doubt dooming the project to failure and obscurity because the 32X was a walking embarrassment for Sega. But regardless, the change was made, but another change was decided upon. Rather than making this project a mainline Sonic game for the 32X, it was decided that the game would instead be transformed into a spin-off starring Knuckles the Echidna. The reason for this change was that Sega of Japan, I guess they came to their senses and realized that the 32X was a mistake, and they felt that it was most likely going to fail, and as such, they feared that putting their mascot on a failed console would cause the brand to be tarnished. As such, the decision was made to take out Sonic and Tails and replace them with the safer choice of Knuckles. Because screw him, I guess. Originally retitled Knuckles' Ring Star, the project would be retitled Chaotix, or Knuckles Chaotix in the West, and would focus exclusively on the 2D side-scrolling stages, removing the top-down levels entirely from the Sonic Crackers prototype, which is unfortunate, but okay then. The game was going to take full advantage of the capabilities of the 32X, with advanced sprite work, the time of day mechanic, and truly 3D special and bonus stages as well. It was also decided to officially replace Sonic and Tails with Knuckles the Echidna, of course, Vector the Crocodile, repurposed from his disuse as an intended bandmate from Sonic 1's intended elaborate Sonic Band sound test, Mighty the Armadillo from Sega Sonic the Hedgehog, manga exclusive Charmy the Bee in his first video game appearance, and truly brand new character Espio the Chameleon, who was designed by artist Takumi Miyake, I believe I pronounced that right, and was likely going to play a much bigger role in the game before focusing more on Knuckles. On a side note, apparently Sonic co-creator Naoto Oshima, I believe that's how you pronounce it, championed for Charmy and Vector's inclusion in the game, but otherwise was not involved in the game's production. It should also be noted that Mighty sprites are actually based on Sonic sprites, but that's kinda obvious if you look at them. And on a related note, Deo for Tails does exist in the final game in a somewhat playable fashion, as this thing. Yeah, that's Tails in the final game. You really got messed up, dude. On top of that, in the game's early post-Crackers prototypes, to which there are a total of 6 prototypes like this, both the Sega screen and the tile screen use different backgrounds, with the Sega screen also using a different animation for the logo, though the rest of differences between these prototypes and the final version are really just minor changes of little significance. But beyond these things, it was pretty much a straight shot for the developers to just complete the project to the best of their ability, to which they did and managed to get the game released in early 1995. Unfortunately, while the game did receive some praise for its interesting mechanics and impressive graphics, the game's exceptionally low difficulty, bland level design, and confusing rubber band mechanic was heavily criticized. The game was also a financial failure due to being a game released on a very unpopular and despised system that was quickly discontinued. Yeah, that decision to move the game to the 32X wasn't really the smartest decision, was it? Especially since the Saturn wouldn't have a mainline Sonic game at all unless you count Sonic 3D Blast's Saturn port, but who would want to do that? Anyway, due to the game not being successful or popular, Knuckles Chaotix sadly did not leave much of an impact on the Sonic franchise. This was made worse because the 32X is a very difficult system to emulate and not really worth the time and effort for Sega as a result, so it doesn't have much of a chance to leave a cult following impact like Sonic CD did. The only time the game was re-released was a mid-2000s release on GameTap, and that's it so far. The game was also one of the last classic Sonic games, including being the last classic 2D Sonic-type game, as following attempts to bring Sonic into 3D in the disastrous era of the Saturn, all using the classic aesthetic, the series will adopt the new, modern aesthetic following Sonic Adventure in 1998 on Dreamcast. This classic style would not be revisited until the 2010s, with classic Sonic in 2011's Sonic Generations and a full-blown classic style Sonic game in 2017's Sonic Mania. Despite this doesn't mean that Knuckles Chaotix left no legacy, as Vector, Charmy, and Espio would make occasional appearances in the modern Sonic games as Team Chaotix, for better or worse, and a couple of powers and the final boss of the game would be implemented in Sonic Mania. Some reviewers have noted similarities in some mechanics between Knuckles Chaotix and some later Sonic games, like the auto-running of the Sonic Storybook games being similar to Knuckles Chaotix's 3D stages, and the partner mechanic in Sonic Advance 3 being similar too. An interest in the game has somewhat risen in recent years, with Sonic team head Takashi Iizuka being interested in a Knuckles Chaotix 2, as well as Sonic Mania developer Christian Whitehead being open to remaking the game for modern consoles. Now before I go, I do want to talk about that prototype of Sonic Crackers that I was discussing earlier. In 1996, a prototype of Sonic Crackers was dumped online by user Morgoth, and was a build from April 1st, 1994, as part of an overdump that included data from an unknown TMNT game. Now, due to the April 1st release date, Main believed that the ROM was in fact a silly hoax by some crazy Sonic fan or something. However, upon receiving multiple other betas of Knuckles Chaotix over the years, fans accepted that this was in fact a true prototype. It was also found that several prototypes of an unrelated game titled, and I'm probably going to mess this up, Yu Yu Hakusho Makyo Toitsuen? I'm not sure how to pronounce it, sorry about that. This game featured additional graphics made for Sonic Crackers not in the original prototype, such as additional Tails Field sprites. This suggests that a later build was developed in prototype, which featured more developments, although the whereabouts of this build, or if it even exists anymore, is unknown. It is also rumored that some SEGA Saturn builds exist somewhere as well, although the whereabouts and existence of these builds is contested too. But let's hope we find them. But that was Sonic Crackers and Knuckles Chaotix. Even though Knuckles Chaotix seems like a small part of Sonic's history, it really shouldn't have been. This should have been a mainline Sonic game and a SEGA Saturn launch title, or a game on the SEGA Saturn at least. The Saturn needed Sonic to be there to show off the awesomeness of the system, even if it was to be at a reduced scale. And not only did moving the game to the 32X hurt, but it also really hurts in hindsight when you see that the Saturn didn't have any mainline Sonic games to call its own in the end. Some say that the Saturn only needed an impressive 2D Sonic game to compete. This was that chance, and it was blown. It is disappointing that SEGA made this decision to put this game on the 32X as a spin-off, when the Saturn really needed its mascot to be there for it. Properly. Granted, the Saturn itself was a console marred by wrong decision after wrong decision after wrong decision, fueled by company politics and miscalculations that was just causing problems for everyone and pretty much resulted in the destruction of SEGA as a console power. But what happened has happened, and it's the past. We can only move towards the future. And I know I've been critical of SEGA, but I am looking forward to this new Sonic Frontiers game coming out. Here's hoping it's awesome. And I need to stop smacking my lips. This is K-Steel Beta Quest signing out. I will see you all later. This was a Cobalt Steel video by MS Bernie. Like, comment, and subscribe if you liked what you saw. Until next time, see you all later.